One of my favorite quotes is from Carl Jung, the psychoanalyst who was a contemporary of Freud. He's the guy that came up with the idea of unconscious archetypes, of the collective conscious. Anyway, the quote is, "Unless you make the unconscious conscious, it will drive your life and you will call it fate." What does this mean? We have these unconscious ideas, strategies, programs that drive our behavior. They're outside of our conscious awareness. We don't know what they are. They drive our behavior. Our behavior is what we present to the world, our behavior and our language, and this is what generates the response we get from the world. And this part, our behavior and the response, this makes up our idea of reality. But if it's all driven by unconscious drivers, we don't really feel like we have a control over this, so we think it's just down to fate. It's the will of the gods. We don't have a choice in the matter. We just kind of cruise along and hope for the best. A modernized version of this could be, in light of the recent discoveries from evolutionary psychology, is that unless you understand your instincts, they will drive your life and you will call it fate. One of the key ideas from evolutionary psychology is the idea of instinct mismatch. That we have these instincts, and these instincts were calibrated in an environment that was much, much different than the environment that we live in today. And if we don't understand what our instincts are, they can drive us crazy. They can turn our lives into a train wreck. And there are three very, very powerful, necessary ancient instincts that combine in a way in modern times in other people as they are presented through other people's behavior that can give us the idea, the feeling that other people suck. And what are these three instincts? The first is the belief that we are better than we are. Back in the days of hunter-gatherers, getting food was very dangerous. Getting food was very scary. Getting food was very difficult. Staying healthy and safe was difficult and scary and dangerous. So we had to really, really believe in our capability far beyond what the evidence presented to get our stuff done, to get what we needed to get done. So we had to believe in ourselves beyond what the truth was. Someone who had a more accurate representation of their skill set probably wouldn't be as motivated as someone who had an overinflated idea of their own skill set. And this presents itself today when they do these psychological studies and find that everybody thinks that they're above average, which is impossible. The next instinct is to externalize failure out onto the world. Back in the day, if you threw your spear at an animal and you missed and your response was, "Oh, I suck, I need to practice spear throwing," you wouldn't be as successful as someone who blamed the world. You blamed the animal for your miss, and you got angry at the animal, and you didn't really take a hit to your self-esteem or your ego, and you maintained your ego integrity by blaming all problems out onto the world. This would both maintain the integrity of your sense of self, your sense of value, and it gave you energy to punish the world for making a mistake and not letting you kill it and eat it. The third instinct is the continuously reframing instinct. We are always reframing ourselves. We are always trying to reframe each other. We are always reframing our experiences. Back in the days of hunter-gatherers, this was very useful to reframe your experiences, reframe what you're seeing in real time, to always maintain that you are the king of your world. You are the chief of your world, the hero of your world. This would keep you on your game. This would most keep you on your game. So people that had a stronger reframing instinct in the past were much more likely to survive compared to people who had a weaker reframing instinct. So how do these three instincts present themselves through other people today that gives us the impression that other people suck? Well, let's say you're having a conversation with somebody you don't know that well, and the first instinct kicks in by them talking about themselves in overly positive terms. They're talking about their skill set in much, much higher ways than it really is. They're making themselves sound like they're fantastic more than they really are. And so you start to take them at face value, and you start to imagine plans in the future involving this person based on what they're talking about themselves, which is really an overestimation of their skills. And then the plan goes through, the plan happens, and it doesn't work because they're overestimating their value, and the plan falls apart. The second instinct kicks in when they externalize the plan not going through out onto the world. They say, "It's not my fault. How was I supposed to know this was going to happen? I didn't plan this. I didn't do this. This isn't my fault." And then you think in your mind, you think, well, you said you could do XYZ, you did do XYZ, and now this thing didn't work out. You told me this before. You told me you could do XYZ, and you couldn't do XYZ. And they say, and that's when the third instinct kicks in, and they reframe their own memory of the conversation. And they say, well, I didn't say that. I didn't mean that. Why would you assume I meant that? I didn't mean that. That's not my fault. And this gives you the impression, if this happens a lot, that everybody out in the world is an unreliable, gaslighting liar, and people generally suck. So how do you respond to these three instincts presenting themselves through other people that can lead to the outcome, the belief that other people suck and you just can't get anyone that can help you get what you want in life? Well, the first step is to just understand that these three instincts are always operating. People will always believe they're better than they are. People will always externalize failures. People will always reframe their memory of conversations to make sure they stay in the role or the role of the hero of their world, and nothing is their fault. And two, instead of judging people by what they say, judge them by their behaviors, which means whenever you start to make plans with other people, make sure those plans are based on their behaviors that you've observed over time rather than what they're saying about themselves. A lot of guys say this about women. Don't watch what she says, or don't listen to what she says, watch what she does. Consider using this strategy with people in general. Take your time to get to know somebody before you start to imagine you and that person in doing any kind of plans in the future, and you'll be less likely to be let down. And three, this is a fantastic set of criteria to sort people for. For example, if you meet someone and they tend to have a much more accurate assessment of their skills and they don't have an overblown sense of confidence, that is a very fantastic and a very valuable trait. Two, if you meet somebody who tends to be more willing to accept responsibility for any mistakes or bad things that happened, that is a very, very rare and a very, very positive trait. Three, if you meet somebody who accurately remembers conversations you had, they accurately remember the things they meant during the conversation, that is a very rare trait, a very positive trait. So anyone that is self-aware with respect to these three instincts is a very, very valuable person that you should definitely keep in your life. If you meet a potential romantic partner, and this romantic partner has a self-awareness along these three traits, that is a gold mine. Keep that person in your life. So think about these three instincts. Make sure you see that everybody in the world always has these instincts going on. Everybody is always going to believe they're better than they are. Everybody is always going to externalize failure out onto the world. And everybody is always going to be continuously, subconsciously reframing their experience to make sure they are the king of their world. They are the queen of their world. They are the hero of their world. And this will keep you out of trouble, and it will give you a very, very strong set of tools to qualify people. If you want to learn more about how to understand human instincts so you can stay out of trouble, you can leverage other people's instincts, or even manipulate other people's instincts in your favor, check out the links below. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you next time.